Well, I tell you, we're excited to be with you guys on this evening to In the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman. And I tell you, it's just such a joy every Tuesday at 7:30 to tune in with our Facebook family and friends. Live at 7:30 is just phenomenal all day long. I've just been thinking about this broadcast, what we were going to be sharing with you guys, what we've already shared, the responses, the joy that comes from sharing with you guys. And I tell you, it's just been awesome. It's been phenomenal ever since Valentine's Day this year. We've been sharing with you guys every Tuesday at 7:30 live on Facebook. And I tell you, it's just been phenomenal. The responses we've been getting, the encouragement we've been getting, the questions we've been getting, the support we've been getting is just overwhelming. You guys have really come through and showed out your love and support for us and towards us as it relates to us sharing on the blended family. And so we're just excited. Last week, well, not last week, but Saturday, we were with Spirit of Faith Christian Center, which is our home church, our home ministry, with the Parenting Made Easy ministry. And we had Willie Moore Jr. live and in living color. And I tell you, it was exciting to just experience that. I tell you, the man of God just showed up and showed out. And I tell you, we just had an awesome time. We'll be sharing some information, some clips as it relates to that ministry. And I tell you, it just was phenomenal. So we want to give a shout out to our home church, Spirit of Faith Christian Center, Doctors Mike and Dee Dee Freeman, to our main man, Willie Moore Jr. for sharing and imparting with everybody on Saturday. I tell you, it just was awesome. Sweetheart, before we do a little clip, give us a recap of last week's episode.
Oh, we're going to do this first? Okay. So, last week we were talking about overcoming jealousy, resentment, and anger in the blended family.
Yes.
Some of the things that we discussed was learning to be flexible, not allowing yourself to be defensive, breathing and meditating, meaning, take time before you react.
Yes.
Develop a new perspective or viewpoint about what you see and how you feel. Practice forgiveness. Express emotions. Deal with the ex-partner. Bond with the children. Resolving conflict peacefully. Exercise the same level of tolerance for their children as your own children.
Shared a lot, didn't we?
We did. These actually was a two week. It was 2 weeks. Don't use your children as messengers or go between. Respecting everyone. Creating new traditions that everyone will love and appreciate. And be you instead of being who or what you think your child may need you to be.
Wow. So we talked about being flexible. That's paramount. You have to be flexible. There are some things that will change. Some things will evolve. Some things will grow. Some things you need to take out. Some things you need to add in. So you have to be flexible. Again, I shared how my biggest problem was it was my way or the highway. So initially I had no flexibility. And anybody know anything? I remember when we were in school, in elementary school, we used to pencil fight. And so we used to love the pencil fight, but the ones that had the rubber pencil, they always won. And the reason why the ones that had the rubber pencil won all the time is because their pencil was flexible.
Oh, yeah.
And so when the impact, exactly. And so when impact hit that pencil, hit the regular pencils, those things snapped in half. But when you hit that rubber pencil, it just bent. And a lot of times in this dynamic, even in families, period, but especially in a blended family, if you're rigid and you're hard, then when things come up against you and hit you, you break. And so I had to learn how to be flexible, and because there were things that we were encountering and experiencing that without that flexibility, I wasn't mature enough to grow and allow this family to be in a place that it needed to be. And so once I learned how to be flexible, and that's why we're sharing that, because this is this firsthand knowledge and experience. Once I learned how to be flexible, man, a lot of things that bothered me didn't bother me anymore. A lot of things that I didn't like, I kind of found quite funny, quite hilarious. And so it's paramount that you learn to be flexible, don't allow yourself to be defensive. And that's big, because a lot of times, you know, we want to be right. We want to prove our point. We want to make a stand. And so we take defense.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And being defensive really is being in offense. You know what I'm saying? And offense is simply being off-ended. You know what I'm saying? You're offended. And when you're offended, you're off-ended. And so the end of the matter will be off because you're not walking properly. And so you don't want to allow yourself to be defensive. Breathing and meditating. You want to say anything about that? Breathing and meditating. It's important, man. You know, sometimes you just need to take a moment to just stop and just think before you react. Think before you speak. Because at the end of the day, what you say, you can't take back.
Right.
You know, and even if you really didn't mean it, you meant it because it came out your mouth. You know how you say things like, I really didn't mean to say that. Yes, you did, because you said it. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day is, you said it and you can't take it back. So if you stop and breathe, if you stop and meditate, if you stop and just, before you react, if you just stop, you'll find yourself responding and reacting a lot more peacefully and a lot more reverently and a lot more lovingly than you would if you just shoot from the hip. Develop a new perspective. We talked about that. You know what I'm saying? What you know isn't all there is to know. And I learned that from Pastor Rick. What you know isn't all there is to know about a situation. And so developing a new perspective or viewpoint about what you see and feel will change things dynamically, because sometimes what we see isn't really what it is.
Right.
And what we feel isn't always what it is. And so you got to learn how to develop a new perspective. One thing I say to my wife all the time is, I try to look at things from every different perspective I can, every different angle I can, because if I just look at things from my lenses, my lenses could be dirty. How many of you guys wear glasses? And you ever notice that when your glasses get dirty, things get distorted? A lot of times when you're looking at things through your own lenses, they really are distorted. And so you got to learn how to develop to see things through a different lens, a different perspective. Practice forgiveness. We talked about that. You know, that's
and
one.
We'll go into that a little bit.
That's one of our top three.
Right.
But we want to move on. Give us some statistics.
Okay. 1 in 4 Americans has been divorced at some point in their lives, and about 10% of the U.S. population is currently divorced.
Well, hold on. Say it again.
1 in 4 Americans has been divorced at some point in their lives, and about 10% of the U.S. population is currently divorced.
Wow.
Premarital preparation can actually lower the risk of divorce by at least 30%.
That's big.
And lastly, only 1 out of every 3 marriages will seek out premarital counseling before they wed, while only 1 in 4 blended family relationship will seek out counseling before they wed.
And that's why we're sharing this with you guys, because we want to alter these statistics. I mean, you hear them, first of all, 1 in 4 Americans has been divorced at some point. A lot of blended families come out of divorce. There's a great population of blended families that haven't even been married, but for the most part, a lot of them come out of divorce. And so we've been blessed. We're blessed, not we've been, but we're blessed to be a part of a ministry, Spirit of Faith Christian Center, that focuses on marriage. We have an awesome marriage ministry, Married Made Easy, and I tell you, just phenomenal. And we piggyback off of that, because a lot of things that we share, we have learned and encountered from the experiences of Married Made Easy. And so we are proponents that divorce isn't an option.
Right.
And so we just want to encourage you guys that have gone through this, that guess what? Just because, like, we've been divorced, but guess what? Divorce isn't an option with us. And so we've learned some things and some tools whereby that we can take and utilize in our everyday living, that regardless of what we encounter and what we come up against, we know now that divorce isn't an option. I don't care how much she get on my nerves. I don't care how much she gets on my nerves. Divorce is an option. She don't care how much I get on her nerves. And trust me, I get on her. No, first of all, how do somebody get on your nerves? Let's go back with it. How do you get on?
I don't even know.
Why do you? We're gonna retract that. Because how do you even get on a person's nerve anyway? You know what I'm saying? It's just one of those dumb sayings that we say that when you really think about it, you know, it's like she climbed in my body and hopped on a nerve and she's standing on it. How do you get on a person's nerve?
That's just something people don't always say it.
Exactly. So that's why divorce isn't an option, because she can't get on my nerve because she has no means to do it. And so, you know, we just love this, but we share that because these statistics are important.
Yeah.
They're important to know, because if you don't know where you come from, you're bound to repeat it. And a lot of times people are just repeating things. You're repeating things that come generationally. There have been families that have high rates of divorce, high rates of separation, high rates of children out of wedlock, all these different things. And so we want to encourage you guys that, listen, you can change it. One of the things that we've learned is there's generational curses and then there's generational choices.
Right.
And so once you accept Jesus, Lord and Savior, the curse is destroyed. But you can still pick up that choice.
Right.
You can still pick up that decision. And so we want to just share with you guys every week some tools and some information that you can take and that you can utilize, so that now you can pass on to the next generation everything that you know you wanted to get for yourself, and they could be the better ones because of it. But listen, we got a special giveaway that we want to do. You guys see this? This is Willie Moore Jr.'s book, and it's called Happily After All by Willie Moore Jr. I tell you, it's awesome. It's an awesome read. And so we want to give this away. We'll be giving away
two.
We got two books, but in particular, this particular one here, we want to give this away. And so the person that can do what, sweetheart?
So which one do you want to do first, though? Okay, the person that can tell us how many children we have and how old they were when we got married. And we done said it like over and over and over on the broadcast.
We've said it at least 30 times.
Tell us how many children we have and their ages when we got married.
You will get this book, Happily After All. I tell you, you want it. It's power-packed. He's giving details about his life, his marriage, things that they've gone through as a blended family. And so you want this in your arsenal to be able to go to and to be able to relate to when you're dealing with some things. There's a lot of helpful hints that you can get from this. And so we want to make sure that we sow this into whoever can tell us how many children we have and the age they were when we got married. Also, the first viewer
that joined
us this evening, they'll get a copy as well.
Right. We got two.
So we got two books. That's right. We got two books. We'll be giving them out. Now, this is the caveat. Once you do that, if you're local, you have to meet us in church.
You have to pick it up from
us. You have to pick it up from us at one of our services.
Well, 8 o'clock Sunday, because that's where we're at.
That's where we'll be at. And so
we'll be at the 8 o'clock service.
Exactly. And so you can shoot us an email at weareablendedfamily@gmail.com, and we'll give you the details. But again, the first viewer on this evening, they'll get a copy, as well as the individual that can do what, sweetheart?
Tell us how many children we have and the ages they were when we got married.
Yes, and so we're excited. We're excited.
So at the end, we'll announce who the first viewer was.
Yes, we will. Okay, and so let's go into tonight's episode, sweetheart.
Okay.
So we're going to be talking about part 2 of topics. Part 2 of...
well, it's really not part 2. We kind of going to... Because I know some of the people missed the workshop on Saturday with Willie Moore. Mm-hmm. So we're going to kind of tie in some of the stuff from ours and what he had... what some of the things that he said to give them a little bit of what was missed. So we're going to be talking about 3 important pointers in the blended family.
Okay, let's go for it.
So the first one is forgiveness.
Yes.
And that's something that we kind of talk about, a lot. So tonight what we're going to do, I'm going to give the definition of forgiveness. Stop feeling angry or resentful towards someone, an offense, flaw, or mistake. Use in polite expressions as a request to excuse or regard indulgently.
Yes.
I don't know what this word is.
One's
voluble ignorance or impoliteness. Synonyms: excuse, overlook, disregard, ignore, pass over, and make allowances for.
Exactly. So, and this is important, guys, forgiveness. A lot of times we want people to forgive us, but we don't want to forgive others. And in order to be successful, not only in marriage and in family, but in specific the blended family, you're going to have to exercise forgiveness. Mm-hmm. Forgiveness is going to have to be something that's done daily, something that's done every second, every minute, every hour of every day. Because there are some things that you will encounter in the blended family that will need forgiveness for. Again, we're learning each other. There are some things that my wife brought to the table. There's some things that I brought to the table that we had no idea about. We had personalities, and some of our personalities had flaws. Mm-hmm. And so there are some things that go on and that happen in the blended family dynamic that you're just going to have to exercise forgiveness. Mm-hmm. There's some things that's going to be said that you're going to forgive. You're going to have to forgive. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to forgive the way it's said, the tone is said, the time is said, things that are done. You're going to have to learn how to not be petty.
And sometimes it's not always how it's said, it's how it's received.
Exactly. And watch this, that's twofold, because even though it could be received wrong, that doesn't mean that gives you an excuse to say it wrong. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I'm glad you said that, because I like to address things on both aspects. Because sometimes we say, well, why did you hear it that way? Okay, but again, why did you say it that way? And so we want to make sure that as the hearer, we're hearing properly, and as this deliverer, that we're delivering properly. Yep. And once we do those things, guess what? Now we don't have to worry about misinterpretations, or misconceptions, or misreceiving something that was said. Because now, as the hearer, I'm making sure that I'm hearing properly, and as the deliverer, I'm making sure I'm delivering properly. Because at the end of the day, if I don't like the way something's said, then I have to make sure that I'm not saying things wrongly. Yep. Just like if I don't like what I hear, I have to make sure that when I'm saying things, I'm conscious of what I'm saying, because I want to make sure that if I hear it back, I know how I want to hear it.
And also, in the hearing, on the hearing end, you have to also know that person's heart. Because sometimes we think that people just saying stuff, we take things a lot of times the wrong way. If you know that person and you know that person is not intentionally trying to hurt you.
But that's why I said that still doesn't give an excuse. And so we have to make sure that I got a hound on that, because people are people.
Right.
And I say that all the time. And people love to say, my heart. Yeah, I know your heart. Whether or not I know your heart, that still don't give you a right to say what you said to me the way you said it to me. And so because we don't hear from here, we hear from here.
Yep.
Because in the midst of the heart is what? The ear. H-E-A-R-T. And so if you take away the H and you take away the T, guess what you got? You got the ear. And so we have to make sure that in the midst of all of that, you know what? We're exercising things the proper way. Yep. And so We want to make sure that, hey, we're exercising forgiveness, and that is paramount. What's the next one, sweetie?
Communicate with a goal.
Wow.
So communication, I'm going to give the definition of communication. To share or exchange information, news, or ideas, impart or pass on information, convey or transmit an emotion or feeling in a nonverbal way, succeed in conveying one's idea or in evoking understanding in others, be able to share and understand each other's thought and feelings. And then some of the synonyms are convey, tell, impart, transmit, pass on, announce, report, recount, relate, present.
Exactly. So when Willie Moore shared that communication with a goal, that thing was awesome. One of the things that we do and we've done since we've been together is communicate with a goal. We don't just communicate to be communicating. We communicate with a goal. What do you want to get out of what you're saying? What do you want to accomplish out of what are you doing? And so communicating with a goal is extremely effective when you write out what it is you want to accomplish. One of the things that he shared was when he got with his wife, he wrote a goal out for their life. He and not with his wife, with his ex-wife,
right?
Because he wanted to make sure that his communication with his ex-wife was correct. And so there were some things he prayed for, even her, to make sure that things were in line. And so one of the things he said, and I love it, he said he used to call her his baby mama. And he realized that the more he called her baby mama, she acted like a baby. And she was a mama. But when he started calling her the mother of his child, she started acting like a mother, a responsible adult. And so that communicating with a goal is important, because you can write some things out. It's just like when, like us communicating, and we say we're no longer going to argue. Then guess what? We write that goal out to communicate without arguing.
Right.
And then no matter what transpires, if we feel that thing come up,
you go back and read.
We go back to that goal, and you know what? We make sure that we're looking at that goal. And you keep that thing before you. The Bible says it like this: write the vision and make it plain. Yeah. So they that run, they that read it may run with it. And so by you writing out that goal, whatever that goal is for your communication of your household and for your blended family, when you write that thing out, now when you communicate, you're communicating with purpose. You don't want to just communicate and don't get anything out of it.
Right.
You know, it's just like having a conversation.
Yeah, like presenting a problem without a solution.
Exactly. Because many of us do that all the time. You know, we can tell you what the problem is, but we can't tell you, you know, how to resolve it, how to get a solution out of it. And so one of the things that I love even in our ministry is, if you're going to bring a problem, you got to best believe that there has to be a solution attached to that.
Yep.
Because everybody knows the problem, okay, but how can we fix it?
Yep.
You know, I don't need you to tag along and say, yeah, I was going to piggyback on that same thing. No, I need to know how to fix this thing. Exactly. And so you want to make sure that when you communicate with the goal. What's the next one?
We got one more, and I know you like this one: compassion. Definition: sympathetic, pity, and concern for the sufferings or misfortune of others. Some of the synonyms is pity, sympathy, empathy, fellow feeling, care, concern, sensitivity, warmth, love, tenderness, mercy, leniency, tolerance, kindness, humanity, charity. I know you got a scripture. So the synonym or the whole thing?
The whole thing. This is important.
Okay, compassion. Sympathetic, pity, and concern for the sufferings or misfortune of others. Pity, sympathy, empathy, fellow feeling, care, concern, solicitude, sensitivity, warmth, love, tenderness, mercy, leniency, tolerance, kindness, humanity, and charity.
This is important. We're not just giving you guys synonyms just to be given. We're not just giving you definitions just to be given them, but we're giving you tools. Because one of my favorite scriptures is Jude, the 21st chapter, the 21st verse. because Jude is only one book.
Right.
But Jude 21 through 24. And it says, keep yourselves in the love of God, looking for the mercy of our Lord Jesus Christ until eternal life. And some have compassion, making a difference. That verse 22 is my ultimate favorite verse. Some have compassion, making a difference. If you want to make a difference in your family, if you want to make a difference, especially in your blended family, you're going to have compassion.
Right.
Because people don't care about how much you know. They care about how much you care. Yep. And so without compassion, listen, well, you're just wasting time. You're wasting energy. You're spinning your wheels. You have to let that compassion, because there's some things that's going to transpire. And guess what? The reason why that person did that is because they just need love. Yeah. They need a hug. They need a kind word. There's so many reasons why people do the things that they do. Mm-hmm. And without compassion, you'll never be interested in why they did that. Mm-hmm. You'll just look at them doing what they did as and act against you or act against someone else. But when you develop compassion, compassion looks beyond the act and looks at the individual. Yep. Compassion looks beyond what was said and done and looks at the individual. Right. And so it's important, man, to develop compassion. There's some things that as a young man, I was void of understanding, but the compassion that my wife exercised even towards myself enabled me to look at my own self and look at the things that I was doing and begin to assess why was I doing what I was doing. There were things like I'll give you a great example. Every year I would get depressed. Around a certain time, I would just get extremely depressed. Mm-hmm. I mean, just wanted to be by myself, really didn't want to be bothered, didn't want to talk much, just wanted to be isolated. And so because of that compassion that she shared towards me or extended towards me, it allowed me to look at what I was dealing with, why I was doing what I was doing, and then make the necessary changes, because now I had to identify it. Mm-hmm. Once I identified it, then I had to deal with it. Mm-hmm. And so, man, compassion makes a difference. And then it goes on to say, and others say with fear, pulling them out of the fire, hating even the garment spotted by the flesh. So that's what compassion does. Mm-hmm. It makes you look at that individual, mm-hmm. look at what they're dealing with, look at why they're dealing with it, and then pulling them out of it. Mm-hmm. Because it's not just good enough to look at a person and just have an understanding of why they're doing what they're doing and why they said what they said, but then mm-hmm. having the fortitude and the love to pull them out of that situation. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so that's mm-hmm. why I love the word compassion. I love that scripture that talks about compassion, because it's what makes the blended family flow. Yep. There are some things even with us individually, with our children, that without compassion, we wouldn't have been able to overcome the way we've overcome, right. and succeed the way we succeeded. Even with our family, without compassion, we wouldn't have been able to do those things. So listen, oh my God, we're out of time, but we're not out of message. Yeah, we're excited. But again, we still have to get this book, Happily After All, written by Willie Moore Jr. We want you to tell us what we are, how many children we have, and their ages when we got married. What was their ages when we got married, and how many children do we have? That's all in one. So that's one. And the way you can do that is you can email us or you can hit us up before we sign off. Well, yeah, they gotta either send it in before we sign off, or we'll roll it over into the next, because this one book is being given away tonight, because I already have saw the first person that joined in. Yes, you got 1 minute. Announce that in a minute. So whoever that individual is that knows how many children we have, and their ages when we got married, you can get that book. Right. So you have 1 minute. It's counting down. Happily After All by Willie Moore Jr. It's a great read. And it's a great read, whether you're single. Exactly. It talks, give you some pointers before you get married, or if you've already been married and getting ready to get married again. If you're in a blended family, it's a great book. Yes, you would want this book. You want that book. And also, too, the first person that tuned
in tonight.
And so, sweetheart, who was the first person that tuned in?
The first person that joined us live tonight was Yolari Waller.
Yes, so
she gets this book.
She gets that book.
Yolari Waller gets this book. She was the first person to join in tonight. So this one is hers.
And so, listen, we got one book left. You got 30 seconds to hit us up. Or you can email us at weareblendedfamily@gmail.com. But we're not going to give that information again. So if we don't get that answer, then next week we'll be giving it again.
Yeah. But it'll be a different question, though.
Exactly. It'll be something different.
Yes. Because we want to bless somebody. We want to bless 2 people tonight.
So listen, we love you guys. We're excited. This has been an awesome broadcast. It's been an awesome episode.
Thanks for tuning in, y'all.
If you have any questions,
Demetria,
any questions, comments, you can reach us at weareablendedfamily@gmail.com. Listen, we got some exciting things coming up. Again, we love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Until next week, bye-bye.
Bye.